Welcome at the second session of the basics of René, but then in Purview. So we are going to do this for the third time. So what do we say in Dutch, René? A third time is?
De derde keer is scheepsrecht.
Yes, so that's a Dutch saying that after 3 times in a row, it will work. So now it will work, definitely. So welcome. And before we start, I first want to congratulate René with the MVP award. It was a surprise or not?
Not completely, but it took a while. I got somebody selected me and said, "Hey, it's I see that you do the right things, and then you can give somebody some more attention to Microsoft." And it took like 7-8 months to get this award. So yeah, for everybody who wants to get an MVP award, be patient, be visible, and share knowledge. That will help you.
I think that's the most important. And yes, it's a minimum of 1 year normally to get the award. And you need to be nominated by another MVP. So that's also something you need to know. But that on the MVP side. Let's dive into Purview. Last time we just talked about the basics, what we plan to do, and today we made a demo, or at least René made the demo, and I think it's good that you introduce it to our viewers and listeners, and share your screen. I hope it works this time.
Let's see. If it's good, you can see my screen, Paul.
Yes, it's fully visible to me, so that's fine.
Great. Last time we zoomed in on some basic elements of Microsoft Purview, and today we want to talk about Microsoft Information Protection and how you can create a label and how you can publish such a label to the end user.
Perfect.
And before we start, it's always good to have a short conversation. Hey, how do you start with such a information protection implementation?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So from my point of view, and that's my starting point at every customer, I will always talk to not only IT, but also the business. Why?
Mm-hmm.
Now, because the business knows which data they are using, their way of working, and if there are some rules needed to address certain law in government.
All right. Is it also not very important that you set up these labels also if you want to go implement, for example, Copilot or other stuff that is related to it? Because I could think of like some data you don't want to have visible directly or shared to externals, for example.
Of course. Yeah. I believe every 365 tenant has to have a solid fundament. And the fundament contains Microsoft Purview elements, but also Microsoft Defender elements and some conditional access layers and some other nice things. But this information protection is only a piece of the cake.
All right. Well, let's show us how we get there.
Yeah, sure. My starting point is office.com, and when you have the right role, you see this admin button.
Yep.
You can click on it. It will open the 365 admin center. And when you
one thing about this is, and I don't know if most companies have it, but still I know a lot of companies don't have it, is that you showed us now that you are logged into the portal and you have access to the admin portal.
Yep.
But I would really recommend to set up privileged identity. So you only have with JIT, so you only have a specific time where you can do your changes, and you need to request it via the portal, and somebody else needs to approve it.
Yep.
This makes your environment much safer. But that's another part of security, and it's not about Purview. So let's continue further.
No, but that's a good one, maybe for another session to deep dive more in that piece of the cake.
Absolute.
So I'm in the 365 Admin Center right now, and when I'm clicking Show All, you see the menu contains a lot of more information. Now, down here, there are a couple of admin centers visible, and when you click on all admin centers, you will get an overview of all the admin centers available in 365.
Mm-hmm.
For this demo, we're going to the Compliance Admin Center. So when I'm clicking Compliance, it will open Microsoft Purview.
So compliance is Microsoft Purview, actually.
Yeah, that's right. Microsoft loves to rebrand stuff. In the early days, a couple of years ago, it was the Security and Compliance Center.
Yeah.
Then Microsoft thought, hey, that's not very usable. Let's rebrand it and make it the Compliance and Security Admin Center.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe 1 year or 1.5 years ago, Microsoft rebranded both options. Microsoft Compliance became Microsoft Purview, and all the security related possibilities became Microsoft Defender. Why?
Right.
To give some more standard overview to users and admins, because a few years ago I thought all the admin centers were not completely addressed on the right way.
Exactly.
And maybe you saw that too.
Absolutely, I've seen that happening, and I still see it happening. So it's now we're talking Purview, but there are more admin centers that arise due to the fact that it's just another product. So you will see more and more of this happening. I still think if I'm in the admin center, I would like to see Purview admin center instead of compliance admin center, but that's my opinion.
True. But I believe the admin centers are more logical now than a few years ago.
Absolutely.
So the Purview admin center, not the compliance admin center, is open. And when I'm scrolling down, you see a lot of options in the menu.
Yeah.
In this demo, we're going to zoom in on information protection. And I'm opening the menu. When I'm clicking the overview, you see a lot of information visible with stuff you can put on or turn off.
Yeah.
You see some top activities, locations where sensitivity labels are applied, and much more. So very usable information.
Absolutely.
When we hit labels, and that's the place where we're going to create the information protection labels, this is a demo environment. So last time we already created one label.
Yep.
When I click create a label, we're going to create a new label. My advice, always use a user-friendly name. First name is more a name for the admins.
Yeah.
So test demo label. But the second option, display name, this is the name the end user sees. So use a very user-friendly name, because the end user has to see the name, and he also needs to see and get the picture. Oh, I'm going to hover over this label. This is what the label does.
Exactly. So they have to relate to the label what it does exactly.
Yeah, so maybe this is a test label for internal purpose only, and
All right.
that's a good way. The end user gets the picture. Oh, I'm gonna use this label only for internal purpose.
Yep.
When we scroll down a little bit, you can give a label a priority. Not very interesting for this demo, but what
Yeah.
is very interesting and what you need to address very good is the description field for the user. When a user
Exactly.
when a user hovers over the label and you put a very good and user-friendly description in it, the user understands where he can use the label for.
Exactly.
For this demo, it's only test demo, and the field for the admins, also address that, but from an admin perspective, it's less important.
Yes. And I guess that actually most people will copy the description of the users to the admin
Yeah,
description.
true, true. A question from my side to you, Paul. When you configure this for a company, how much
Yeah.
labels do you use?
Well, that depends, of course, but I would say a maximum of three, and in some cases eight, but that's already a lot because people have to be aware what a label does, as you told them already. But like three is a bit of the most common, 3, 4, and I think that's also what you want to see. You don't want to see a whole lot of labels because what does what label do? And of course, sometimes you have to, but that's a different story.
Yeah, that's true, true. Yeah, the end user has to adopt new technology and a different way of working. So start small.
Absolutely. I agree on start as small as possible. If it's needed to have more, then you can add more, but start small. Start with those three labels. Is it not enough? Then check what you need more.
Yeah, true. When we scroll down a little bit, we can give the label a nice color.
Hmm.
I find it from a user perspective very friendly to give a label a color because most of the people are very focused on not on text but on pictures and on colors.
Absolutely. And I think this is also really interesting, and not just on the label side, but for example, in OneDrive, you now also have the color option of the folder. So you could do the coloring overall, and you directly know, okay, this is a label for internally only. So that makes it really nice, I guess.
Yeah, true. I really love that feature in OneDrive and Teams and SharePoint. The
Absolutely.
colors from the folders.
Now we still need it on the Mac, but that's a different story.
I choose the orange color. So
All
let's hit
right.
the next button. And here we can determine the scope of the label. So you can scope this label to files, to emails, to meetings, to groups and sites, to SQL databases, to Cosmos, to AWS.
Yeah.
A lot of possibilities. You see the groups and sites are grayed out.
Yeah.
That's why I did not enable that with PowerShell on my tenants. So that's why
Okay.
it's grayed out.
Okay. So if you want that, they need to do a PowerShell to enable it.
Yeah, true. And I believe Microsoft has made a switch. Every new tenant that will be created, this feature will be enabled by default.
Yes, I could. I could imagine because a lot of companies will have that feature on as well.
Yeah, it makes no sense.
Yeah.
But
Exactly.
Another one that's maybe not making sense at all is the meeting option. And it's available in the label scope, but you need a Microsoft Teams premium license to use it.
Teams premium license, that's good to know, but does it also apply when you would have Copilot?
Yeah.
So you need either premium or Copilot.
Yeah, because when I put this on here in the label, and then when I will hit next, it will give me more configurable options for meetings. And when I have no Teams Premium license available and configured on my account, I will not see that options available in the options later.
Yeah, exactly. And in this case, on this tenant, we don't have it enabled, so we can skip it.
Yeah, let's skip it. Let's make not too difficult, not complicated. Yeah, that's the right word. So let's hit next. Here we can choose the protection settings, and yeah, you can configure the control access, so who can access certain files and label items.
Yeah.
You can apply content marking. You see a nice footer or header in a document. But yeah, we will not address this in this demo.
No, that's one for next time.
Yeah, and you see this is grayed out now because we did not select it in the earlier step.
Yeah.
Auto labeling.
That's an interesting one.
Yeah, it's very interesting, but yeah, a little bit the same story. All has to do with the maturity of a customer. My starting point is always an E3 license. Why? Because an end user then has to manually label certain files or documentation or emails or other stuff. Why, you may ask? I believe it will help the end user to understand what he is doing. And when you configure auto labeling right away, the end user will not get the bigger picture why things are happening.
Exactly. So I fully agree on that. So I would do the same.
And another option, of course, auto labeling is an E5 option. So if a customer has an E3 license, yeah, he would not get the benefits from an E5 option because it's not available.
Exactly. I see that more and more happening, that the options are there, but they don't work because you don't have the correct license.
Yeah, and my thought always was from, hey, if I have an E3 or an E5 license, Microsoft or in the tenant will automatically see, hey, there is not the right license available, so the option will be grayed out. But yeah, that's not the way it's working right now.
All right.
So click next, and a lot of options available, but grayed out. Why? Because I did not configure these options in an earlier stage. But you can, granular configure more privacy options like external sharing and some conditional access possibilities, share channel options. So always, think good about the things you see here on the screen because it can give and can have a very big impact for the end user.
Absolutely.
Click next, and auto labeling for data assets. We will not address it this time because it's all an E5 option and it's also a more advanced option.
Yeah.
I don't see this used very much at the customer side. Maybe you, but
no, I don't. I haven't seen it before.
Okay. Now, let's wrap it up. Let's click next, and on the review option, you can see all the stuff you configured. So let's create the label. It can take a few minutes. Hopefully the demo gods are positive today. We can publish the label right away. And maybe a question then from your side, publish, why?
Exactly, because we created a label,
we have
so
created
why
a label.
do we need to publish it?
Yeah, we created a label, but it won't be available right away to the end user. Why? Because we have to publish such a label with a policy. So
All right.
we can publish it from here, or we can publish it from the menu. So for this demo, let's publish it from the menu. So we don't going to create a policy yet. Click done. And here in the menu, you see label policies. That's the way we are going to publish the test label.
One question from my side on the labels is we now created the label. It's directly available, or do we need to wait a time before it's available?
Now, often it's available within half an hour, but depends on your tenant settings and on how large your tenant is. It's a very if it's a very small tenant, often it's very fast available, and when you've got a very big environment, it can take up to 24 hours.
Okay, that's quite a lot. And one more question on the label side is we created the label, and now I get from my how do you say that, security person, he's telling me, well, we need the groups in that label. Is it possible to edit the label after we created it?
Yeah.
All right.
It's always configurable afterwards, but you have to ask yourself the question, is that the right way to work with labels?
Absolutely agree.
I often create a new label. Why? Because the end user is already used to a certain label. And my approach is to create a new label and to have a conversation with the business, with the end user. Hey, there's a new label. Please use this label. And we're going to decommission the other label in a few weeks.
All right. And decommission when I just unpublish it, I guess.
Unpublish it, delete it, throw it away. Stuff like that.
But first we're going to publish it now, so let's do that.
Let's hit the publish label option. Here you can choose which label you want to publish. We are going to publish the test demo label for internal purpose only.
Yeah.
I click add. And now only this label will be available in this policy. So click next. Now, admin units is something we are going to address in another session.
Yeah.
It's a very nice feature. When I click next, we can publish the label to a certain group of users or end groups. For this demo, we are going to publish the label to every user and group in this tenant, but you can publish it to a certain group you want.
Okay.
But my advice is publish it to a group of users and not to certain users only.
So your advice is to all users and groups, or only groups?
No, I will use a group and not lose users.
Okay. All right.
Click next. And then you see a lot of options over here. Users must provide a justification to remove a label or lower its classification. That's a very nice feature. When a document or something else already has a label and you lower the classification to a lower label, then the end user has to give justification why he lowers the classification. And that will be visible in the auditing.
All right, and I think it's also very good to know that those labels that you apply, they also inherit. So if you create a new document in Copilot, for example, they inherit the labeling, and I think we did. You are going to tell about the email now that we are also inherited in emails. Am I correct?
It's totally true. It's a labeling is like a stamp on a document or an email or something else, and it will stay on the document, and it will get inherited. That's right.
All right. And what happens if I, for example, now we have an internal label, but we also have labels that can go to another party. What happens to the label if, for example, you send me a document, I'm in a different tenant, what happens to the label?
If it's good and I get the bigger picture, it will stay on the document.
And then I will still have the same policy in my own tenant, or is it only the policy that is enabled on your tenant in this case?
It's a good question. I believe it will stay the same, but what is your opinion?
I think it will stay the same.
Yeah.
And especially because, in my opinion, you are going to share a document via link, so it will use the policy that is applied.
Yeah. True.
All right. That's a good one.
Yeah, true. You can also require users to apply a label to Microsoft Fabric and Power BI content. So, yeah, very usable, but not for this demo. And you can also provide a link to a custom help page. So if you have a SharePoint site available in your tenant with some more help information, you can refer to that right here if you want to configure it.
And it needs to be an internal site, or may it also be an other program where we can refer to?
It can be both.
All right. Yeah.
But for this demo, we will not configure it because I have no help page.
That's fine.
That's fine. Okay, let's hit next. And then we get a lot of options to configure the default label. And in this case, for a document, we only have one label, but you get a bigger picture when you have multiple labels available. You can choose the default label for a new document. So if this label is published to the end user, when the end user will create a document, this is the default label a document will have.
So again, I think this is really good adoption in the organization, and I guess starting off with none, but applying it on a later stage.
Yeah. For the email, it's a little bit the same. You can give here a label.
Yeah.
But if you scroll a little bit down, there's also an option available, inherit label from attachments. So if a label is applied to an email and an attachment has got a higher label added, you can configure it right here down at the bottom, that the email will get the same label inherited as the attachment.
All right.
So very handy option. Click next. From the calendar perspective, you can also give it a default label, but we did not configure it in the label, so it's not available here.
Yeah.
The Fabric side in Power BI, you can also configure a default label, but that is something else maybe for another session.
Yeah.
And then use a user-friendly name. Use the test demo label.
One question here, René. I see that you use the same name as in your label. Is this name also visible to the end users, or is this more on the admin side?
Yeah, it's something for the admin side, and now I'm using test demo label, and of course that will not be the name I use in a productivity environment, and you have to use a certain naming convention.
Absolutely. What convention do you use most of the time?
Most of the time I use the purpose of the label, and I want to see that back in the policy.
Okay.
But when I publish multiple labels, you have to work with the description field. So you can, if you look at the description field, you see, well, this policy is used to publish these labels with that purpose. You can have multiple policies.
Yes.
So give it a thought, and not from a technical perspective, but more from a functional perspective. Think good before starting with the technical side.
All right.
When we click next, we see the review options, what we did, what we configured in this policy. And when we click submit, the policy will be created and the label will be published to the end user. And
how long does that take?
It depends. My experience is most of the times like 30 minutes, but you see the screen, it can take up to 24 hours.
I think it's also 24 hours when you do edit on edit on edit. So you made the label and you edit it because you made a typo or whatever, and then the process starts again, so it will take up longer. That's my experience.
Yeah, that's also my experience. As I work a lot with customers, and they don't think very good about labeling, and they start to create labels and policies. And when they click through and they have created a label and a policy, they have a thought, oh, let's edit it again, because I see some very handy option that's from an admin perspective most usable, and edit the policy or label again and again. And then it can take very long before the end user sees a label. That's why I always tell them give it a thought, governance thought, and then do the technical side.
Exactly. All right.
When I click done, you see the policy available here, and that was the demo.
Great. So what you've done is you created a label, you published the label, and I guess for next time we will go a bit deeper on the other settings.
Yeah.
And I think for now this is it. If you have any questions, put them under the comments at the bottom, and share them with us so we can take a look at it and maybe go into the topic as well. Anything from your side, René?
No, I found it very interesting to demo this, and these are all basic options. And next time we can zoom in a little bit more on the advanced options like conditional access and the Teams options. And hopefully it will give you guys some more insight in the possibilities with labeling and how powerful it is.
All right. Thanks for this session, René, and let's do the next session soon.
Great. Thank you for your time.